Here's the idea. We're gonna take a bunch of Victorian-era fictional characters and put them on a team together
as they try to prevent a world war from breaking out at the beginning of the 20th century. Wow, that sounds great. So you'll have like Sherlock Holmes and Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein? Well, yeah, like those people. Who will make out the team? Well, we have Dorian Gray. Who? You know, the guy from the painting. Then there's Captain Nemo. I'm not sure who. And the Invisible Man. I've heard of him, but not the Invisible Man from the book. This is a guy who stole the formula but has nothing to do with the book. All right. Then there's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay, now that one I have heard of. Who will be the leader of this group? The greatest literary character of all time. Tarzan? James Bond? Dear God, man, I can sell Sherlock Holmes. Alan Quatermain. You're fired. Sean Connery is attached. Have it on my desk in 3 months.
That's how you get ants!
Steampunk started as a science fiction subgenre in the 1970s. The idea was basically, what if the Victorians got technology right? As a result, Victorian-era authors like Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and Mary Shelley are the proverbial millennials of science fiction. They were steampunk before it was cool. Steampunk had a bit of a surge in the early 2000s, but that surge was more in the fashion industry than anything else. Goggles. All the goggles. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen takes a number of Victorian science fiction and adventure characters and sticks them on a team together. It all works on paper. Literally, it's based on a comic book that did pretty well. However, the transition from page to screen seemed to lose something in translation. It got a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes if you're into that kind of thing. But let's see if we can find anything nice to say about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Watching it in 2020, it's a little surprising how many plot points are similar to Avengers. First,
the team composition. You have Sean Connery as Alan Quatermain, the leader, Captain America sort. He's an old man at the turn of the century. He doesn't have much time for the evolved world. He just wants to linger in Kenya and relive the glory days. He's tired of seeing his compatriots die. He responds to the call out of a bit of reluctant patriotism. Captain Nemo is the Tony Stark of the group. He's the one with the technology and smarts. First, he has a car, which he calls
Automobile.
in 1899. The car was invented in 1885, but didn't look like what Nemo has. Then Nemo has the Nautilus, his ship, which he also had in his book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Nemo has a bit of a dark past, not unlike Iron Man, and Nemo is trying to make amends for his earlier piracy. I really enjoy the designs and setting of this film. Not only is Nemo advancing technology, but they are fighting against the mysterious Phantom, who is out inventing new technologies himself. The opening scene features a tank driving through the streets of London in order to aid a bank robbery. The scene is a great kickoff. The police are entirely overwhelmed. It's dark and gritty. It grounds you in the world you're about to spend a few hours in. There's a lot of cool designs in the super weapons, like the machine guns needing backpacks to carry the ammunition. The body armor is clearly heavy and impractical and is therefore reserved for the more vital parts, usually facing the enemy. Next, we have the Phantom, who is a lot like Loki. His plan is to start a world war and kick off an arms race, and part of that arms race includes assembling a team of heroes. He wants what they have, but more, like Loki, he wants to get all the people who can stop him in one place so he can take them out. Mina Harker.
Vampire lady!
She's a tertiary character from Dracula. Like, if you've read Dracula, you might remember her as the main character's wife, but Dracula is basically a bunch of dudes all in love with this girl named Lucy going vampire hunting with a crazy professor. Mina Harker is the Thor. She's a vampire. Apparently in this universe, Dracula turned her. Like Thor, she's the odd one out. Thor is the only non-human on the team, Mina is the only woman. Also, she can fly, turn into a swarm of bats, and is basically immortal. Like Thor. The Invisible Man is Black Widow, the stealthy one, the one who seems to be keeping an eye on everyone. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, obviously Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Finally, there's Tom Sawyer, who I didn't realize was Tom Sawyer until the closing credits, because they only call him Sawyer during the whole film, and come on, there's more than one Sawyer in America. Sawyer is Hawkeye. He doesn't have any special powers. All he can do is shoot things. So there you have your team, the bad guy, and their Avengers equivalent. This is actually a great thing. There's a reason why teams like this work. Each member fulfills a role, and you can see why they need others to succeed. They by themselves aren't strong enough to face the threat, but competing management styles can help you get the job done. It works to a point in this film. Sean Connery gets the most screen time, and he's always entertaining to watch. The film starts to develop a father-son relationship between Quatermain and Sawyer. Quatermain lost his son and is haunted by it. He sees Sawyer as someone to take under his wing. I don't think Sean Connery phoned in this performance. I think he was playing a character that hit a little too close to home, a character who was passing the torch to a new generation. In the course of their story, Quatermain is trying to teach Sawyer how to shoot from a long distance. Sawyer lacks patience and keeps rushing the shot. Later, when the Phantom, who was really Moriarty because sure. When the Phantom is escaping, there's a great payoff of his training where Sawyer finally makes that shot. It's a nice arc. There's a scene where one of the minions overdoses on the Mr. Hyde potion and turns into something not unlike Hulk's nemesis Abomination. It's grotesque. In a good way. One of the plot points involves the Phantom/M/Moriarty monologuing his evil plan, which is definitely a cliche, but they put a twist on it in that while the recording of his evil plan monologue is playing, it's also broadcasting in an audible frequency that is triggering bombs planted on the Nautilus. It's a clever twist on the old cliche. Did he need to reveal his secret plan? Maybe not, but it kept them listening long enough for him to accomplish that goal. And that's another shared plot point with Avengers. Blowing up the submarine is a lot like Loki's forces blowing up the helicarrier. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen plays out like a rough draft of Avengers. I've never read the graphic novel, but I do have a library card, so I'll probably take a look. Considering how quickly steampunk goes in and out of style, it's no wonder League of Extraordinary Gentlemen didn't have a long shelf life. It seems like it was a bigger bite than a studio was willing to chew. Or maybe they thought the literary backgrounds of the characters would flesh out some of the lack of character development. It's more of an interesting watch in a world where Avengers exists, and you can compare it to something that did a team-up superhero movie well. Thanks for joining us on Anything Nice to Say, and never be ashamed to like what you like. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to this channel so you can check out all my rantings and ravings about movies and what all. Drop a comment, try to keep it civil. You may think it's the worst movie ever made, but even if it is, it's still just a movie.